Today we're tearing into the axle of this MTD lawn tractor and finding out exactly why it is malfunctioning. So stay tuned. Welcome back to Pine Meadows Hobby Farm. I'm your host, Jerry Hansen. Today I'm working on my MTD lawn tractor. The rear axle is malfunctioning. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and remove it. I'm going to remove the wheel, and I got a wheel puller. We're just going to pull it off and separate the wheel. Now the other wheel is stuck to the axle. I can't get that off. So fortunately the short axle is the one I'm after. Don't forget to remove the drive belt. That's the first thing you should do. Okay, there's a spring clip and a spring that tensions the brake. Also the brake assembly you want to disassemble and get that off of there. To remove it, I simply remove these 4 bolts that are attached to each side of the chassis. There's 2 on one side, 2 on the opposite side. There's also 1 bolt that's on the front of the axle that has to be removed also, a nut and bolt. Now the next step is to go ahead and remove the axle. It should come out freely. On the axle cover there are approximately 9 bolts. Each set of bolts are different lengths, so you want to, when you remove these bolts, you want to lay them out in the same order and put them in a patterned order so you can put them in accurately. Once you have these bolts removed, you can simply separate this cover. I want to separate it. I'll turn it upside down and remove the top cover. That way it exposes the grease that's caked in there. And notice the grease still has some light tan brown color, and other parts of it has a darker brown color. It's been well used. So removing the transmission part of this brake assembly, and that's what the sliding thing is. And now we just have to remove this gear assembly. This is your reverse and forward gear assembly. You just lift that right on out of there. And then I'm going to set it on this surface and disassemble it carefully. These are the different parts for it. You've got your bushings, your spacers, and then your gears, and you got some keys in there too. And then you also have your brake disc that's on there as well. This is your brake disc. Don't forget there is a little ball bearing on a spring. Carefully remove that, set it aside so you don't lose it, and get the spring out and set it aside also. Now on the rear differential on the back, the axle itself, we're going to lift that out of there, and on the rear differential on each side there's this big pin that goes around that holds your spider gears in place, or your pinion gears. To remove the pinion gears, you use one of these pliers. I got a set at Harbor Freight, and it goes into those little C-rings and just spreads them apart, and you can pull them right off. Alright, first of all we're going to go ahead and remove these 4 Phillip head screws that hold the housing to the big sprocket here, that drive sprocket. And once we get those 4 removed, we can separate that from the long shaft. Okay, after getting into the axle, the differential of this axle here on this MTD tractor, I found out that the short shaft pinion gear is stripped. That is a bad thing. So that is why this thing isn't working. It wasn't the belt, however I did need to replace the belt, but now I've got to take this off and see how I can fix that. Put this in a vise, and then I'm going to remove this nut. Okay, let's take that nut off, set it there, pull that off. Looks like those splines are wore out. That's too bad. So the splines are all worn out and they're stripped out in here. Not a good thing. It just free rides right there. So that concludes this video. I'm going to have to go research to find out if I can replace this pinion gear and this short axle, because both of these are ruined. I'm your host, Jerry Hansen, here at Pine Meadows Hobby Farm. I want to thank you guys for joining me on this Backyard Mechanic series on repairing the MTD lawn tractor, part 1 of the axle repair. I'll see you guys. You can follow me on social media. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, and Reddit. Please subscribe, give me a thumbs up, and hit like. That helps my channel out a whole lot. We'll see you guys again in another video. Bye-bye.